Bossing in PoE has always been so much fun. The Gauntlet in particular, it's very different. It's basically like playing two different games.
Gaze into the abyss.
When it comes to like gauntlets, the only reason I stop is because I understand at some point that like I kind of physically need to. Mentally, I'm vibing.
Hey guys, BigSil here. With the Sanctum Gauntlet approaching, we thought it'd be a good time to get to know the players at the top, those who push the limits of Path of Exile and bring home the trophies. I sat down with Ben, who's been the most prominent Path of Exile racer ever since he stepped into the spotlight in September 2020, during the very first Awakener Kill event, hosted by Zizaran before the Gauntlet events ever came to be. Enjoy.
Well, I started playing PoE in 2012. Like very shortly before the game left closed beta, I followed Kriparian over from D3, as did many people.
She corpse exploded the corpse of the boss.
And I kind of just played it casually for the better part of a decade until a few years ago when there started being like actual competition stuff, and then I just started doing that. GG.
Did you find that competing in WoW and striving to the best for something like was something that you would pursue like when you first started playing WoW, or when were you really into esports like growing up, or was that like your first foray into this sort of stuff?
Well, for WoW, it was all kind of just an accident. I started playing WoW when I was 9 years old, a very long time ago, and it was kind of like an on-off game. I just kind of came back to every now and then. In the middle of Legion, I was doing keys, and then the MDI just like kind of became a thing, and I was already just doing high keys, and it just made sense. Play some games, make some money, and then for raiding, it honestly was kind of the same thing. Like I was just kind of climbing the ladder of guilds, and then the race war first became a thing, and then I was already there, so it just made sense. With these two games in particular, I never really played them with the goal of being competitive. Like I did the whole like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, like trifecta of going to like actual competitive games, but eventually I just got kind of bored of that, and then stuck with the more casual games, which randomly became competitive like as I was playing them.
Do you think that the skills you cultivated over your time in World of Warcraft bled over into Path of Exile and helped you transition to become a better player?
I think the main benefit from playing WoW is that game really trains your overall awareness and multitasking, your ability to just like see every single thing on your entire screen and be aware of things that are happening in different parts of your screen, things that are going to happen next, like the ability to just like intuitively know what the boss is going to do next. Kind of like what WoW is, just like always thinking about what's happening in 10 seconds and 20 seconds, the next ability, like how you're going to move, and like that I guess translates a bit to PoE, but I mean I've played PoE for probably 20,000 hours or more. I truly have no idea what that number is, but it's a lot.
Is there a single specific skill you think is the most important to cultivate in order to become better at PoE?
I'm not really sure. I mean, just being able to navigate path building properly is all you need to really theorycraft in PoE, and then having the experience to know not just what a DPS number means, but like how a build is going to feel based on what the PoB looks like is really important. So you can sometimes like skip the testing phase, because like for example, I've put a decent amount of time PoBing Blade Trap over the past few gauntlets, and I've never even bothered to like actually test it in game, because well, I did it once for like a campaign run, that was it, because I can just tell by looking at the PoB and the playstyle that it's going to suck. Even though it's going to do a lot of damage, it's not going to be good. Yeah, it's really important to just have good memory and watch everyone else die to mechanics.
What?
For two reasons. One, it's funny.
It's got one shot.
And two, you can like remember like what killed them and how they died. Like for XLs in particular, I don't think most people knew what that mechanic was, but the way Zoff works is like the lower his health is, he has like a little like pseudo enrage mechanic where he does more damage, and he's just really scary when he's low HP. And that's the kind of thing that, like, until someone dies to it, no one's really going to know that. And then one like high profile death happens, everyone like looks into it, figures out why it happened, and then you just remember that forever, and then it's fine.
Do you have any advice for someone who's starting out and wants to tackle the game?
I don't even know where to start. The game really has so much depth. You can play for thousands of hours and still be missing really important information on like what monsters do and like just the best way to tackle problems. Really, whenever you're new, like the most important thing is to focus on learning the game instead of learning the build, which basically what that means is you need to find a really good build guide. There's a few like popular ones that are really well fleshed out guides that mean that your character is going to be good enough to do everything, and then you need to focus on learning everything that isn't relevant to your character, like what monsters do, how maps work, how to farm, and like everything else. And then once you understand what like how the game works, then you can focus on like creating your own builds.
What was the moment you realized that competition in Path of Exile was becoming a serious thing?
I mean, it all started with the 3.9 Cyrus race, which I think was hosted by Zizaran. I mean, that was like a pretty substantial prize pool for this game. Like, I didn't think there'd be, 5-figure prize pools for like PoE racing, and there was, and I was like, wow, that's actually like this is like worth spending time on, especially because it was a game that I already like exclusively played just for fun. Like it's not like I like saw money and was like, all right, now I need to learn this thing. It was just like this game was already fun, and now suddenly you can get paid to play it too. Like, sign me up. I raced against Havoc for the races to 100 back in 2014, 2015, like a long time ago. The only one I ever won was Dark Shrine, which after winning that, there's like, oh, it doesn't count. It's a meme league. But yeah, I mean, I've played against Havoc a lot. Definitely have a lot of respect for him.
Would you still play Path of Exile without these endgame events, like the Gauntlet? Do they give you an extra goal to strive for?
Yeah, the Gauntlet in particular used to play more. Typically, before Gauntlet was a thing, the way my cycle worked is I would come in, play a ton on League Start, and then play for anywhere from like 2 to 6 weeks based on how much I liked the league, and then I would stop and come back next league. And then that's what I think most players probably still do, because it's just the best way to enjoy the game. And Gauntlet is like that, like 2 months in, just like little burst of playing the game, and then you have like 3 weeks off until the new league, and it just adds an extra part of the game to enjoy. Because base league, especially in trade league, it's very different than Gauntlet. It's a very different experience. It's basically like playing 2 different games. It doesn't really feel like it causes burnout, and it's just like extra fun, basically.
This is the first Gauntlet since the removal of Arch Nemesis. You've been very outspoken about disliking it.
Arcanist box, duplicate.
Do you think it's going to have a major impact on maybe the flow of the game or just the outcome of the actual event itself?
Well, I don't really necessarily agree with the idea that Arsenal was removed. It was more rebranded in my eyes. The rares we have now, in my opinion, at least when it comes to the combat, are still just simply worse than they were in like before Arsenal. But the rewards that rares provide are actually meaningful now, so like that's good. The game, of course, feels better than it did in 3.19. There are still some mods, especially with multi-proj, that are extremely dangerous, and you're going to see some like insta-death clips to like, I forgot what it's called now. It was called Bombardier when it was Archnem. Now it's called like Fires Projectiles or something weird, but there's still a lot of Archnem mods that are no longer Archnem mods that are super dangerous. Before 3.19, pretty much, it was just a harvest show. Like harvest, it had like 30 different like tools you could use to craft, different paths to craft. You just had to know how to use every single craft. But now it's like harvest is very, very bad compared to what it used to be for like early game crafting. So you have to do essences, which are, ever since the Archnem changes, they're insane, super dangerous.
Yeah. Is there anything you really look forward to, or like your favorite part of these events? Is it like the gear progression? Is it the killing of the bosses, or just honestly just the competition in general?
It's fighting the bosses for me. Like bossing in PoE has always been so much fun, and when you give them modifiers to make them harder, and then add stakes in the form of prizes, it adds that pressure, and it's just a really enjoyable experience.
We are seeing something new for the first time though in this Sanctum Gauntlet, with a banned skill system and the 3 bans issued. If the skills weren't banned, would you just happily play Seismic again? Because it's arguably the strongest option out there. If it wasn't banned, of course.
I can't, confirm that I'd play it for Gauntlet. I definitely would have played it for a practice league and seen how it felt. The current builds we have are like they're still pretty good. At least the one build that I'm currently planning on playing. Like the progression's still fast. It's probably still going to be day 3. Seismic in 3.18 was day 2. I don't know if current Seismic would still be day 2. Like it's very possible that even if nothing was banned, that it would still be like every single build is day 3.
I mean, maybe you're not going to tell us, but I got to ask. What are you going to play in the Gauntlet? Do you have any ideas? What do you know, and any sort of hints, or are we keeping it all secret?
I don't think it's currently a secret. I'm playing a Poison Champ SRS for bossing. Like what I'm playing to get there, I don't know yet. I've done one Bone Shatter run, but it was like kind of scuffed. Like I already played Jug Bone Shatter, and then I made a Champ Bone Shatter afterwards. So it already had the Atlas Stone, it already had essences, so I didn't really get to feel the progression of that. But I did play enough in maps to know that if I can not play Bone Shatter, I'm gonna not play Bone Shatter because I hate that skill. So currently I'm testing a Champ Spark for like the day one character, and hopefully this feels good. If it does, I'm gonna play this and then respec into Poison SRS once I get the gear for that.
Do you have any predictions about who's going to win? Do you think there's any dark horses out there that are going to come out, or do you think you're just going to, like, someone's just going to sweep the whole thing on different classes?
I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna sweep the whole thing in different classes because there's the rule about like you have to full migrate after you clear. So like, if you want to play multiple classes, you have to do a full fresh start for the next class, which is, I mean, it's fine, but like it's really rough to league start on the bad ascendancies. So the reality of trying to do multiple classes would probably mean after playing, you know, Champ Bone Shatter into Champ Poison SRS and then going like Scion, I would fresh start and then play Champ Bone Shatter again, farm the gear, and then re-level a Scion, because like actually league starting a Scion is like, it's not something that I will ever do intentionally.
Ben, I want to really thank you for your time here. I've had a ton of fun talking to you, but I do have one final question for you. And it's a little bit out there. So if you had to be locked up with a PoE racer in a room for a fistfight to the death, who would you pick and why?
Okay, this is all right. I feel like there's two avenues for this, right? Because first I could pick like Havoc, and the reason is so that he kills me instantly, and it just instant, like we're good, we're done. Or we go for the W, but the problem with that is I weigh like 125 pounds, so my odds against anyone are pretty bad. So I also have only met like one of them in real life. It's really hard to tell how big people are from their webcams. I don't know, man.
Thank you so much, Ben. It's been an absolute blast, man. And I can't wait to see you top the leaderboard in this Gauntlet, man. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Hopefully that's the outcome.